Hey class, I hope you guys are all doing well. We've come to the end of our section here before exam number one, and so what I thought I would do is do a quick video in regards to the first study guide. Upcoming exams, I'm not going to have a separate video for each study guide. You guys can work over the study guides yourselves, but I did want to do a first video here in regards to the study guide to maybe kind of help you out a little bit so you're not nervous or not have any issue with the exams if college exams are new to you. But I do provide a study guide. It looks like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the exam process on Moodle, and then I'm going to transition to a screen recording where I'm going to have this on my screen, and we'll just run down through the study guide real quick and kind of look at some of the answers, and then that'll be it. Then next time you're going to be having your exam. So the exam is going to be all multiple choice. There's 40 questions on the exam. It's all multiple choice. Again, this is an introductory World History 1 survey course. No one's majoring in world history or European history or American history. That's not a major of anybody's. This is just this is a gen ed course. And so I'm not going to be getting into long essays or even short answers. So we're going to have multiple choice, which is beneficial for you because the right answer is there, but you just have to pick the right answer. Some of them are easy, some of them might be a little more difficult. But again, if you study this study guide, there should be no problems. So the exam is going to be on Moodle. It's a timed exam. And so it'll have a start date and an end date, and then also when you log into the exam with your proctor, it'll be a timed exam there. You have to finish the exam in 1 hour. It's going to be 40 questions, 1 hour. I mean, it's not going to take you that long. So the way the exam works is that Monday I will email your proctors the password for the exam, and you're supposed to be getting with your proctor. They actually enter it into Moodle on the exam itself. So you're with your proctor, you bring the exam up, it'll ask for the password, and then your proctor is actually supposed to put the password in and then observe you the entire time while you take the exam. Okay, so that's between you and your proctor. If you have a place to go do that, if it's at your house, if it's at your church or wherever it's going to be, they're supposed to be with you there and observe you in regards to the academic honesty policy we have here at the College of Mid-America. So you can't use any kind of outside help or get outside help or anything like that. So speaking of outside help, when you take the exam, again, it'll be in Moodle, the instructions and everything, but you cannot use anything during the exam except your computer to take the exam itself. You can't use study guides, you can't use books, you can't use notes, whatever you have. You can't use any of that. It's all just taking it on the computer, just like any other exam. My residential students, it's them at their desk, and they're given the paper exam, same exam, paper exam, and they take it in class with me. And there's no open book, no notes, no phones like that, nothing like that. So we just need to make sure that we are doing the exam according to the proctor policy of Mid-America. So anyway, that's pretty much how it works. Actually, there's a couple people, I think 4 students right now, that I do not have your proctor information. If I don't have your proctor information, you're not going to be able to take that exam. So you've got to give me your proctor information. It was supposed to be by the end of week 2. I've already sent out emails to have that proctor information. It's not my job to be chasing you down for proctor information. It's right there in Moodle, your responsibilities. I even put it on the checklist for you. So got to have your information for the proctors. So anyway, we're now going to transition into a screen recording of me talking through this study guide. Okay, class, so you can see on the screen there we have the World History 1 exam, number 1 study guide, and we have this long list, 40 questions. There's some questions that have multiple parts to them, so obviously there's more questions on the study guide than there are on the exam. But I just want to run down through some of these. We're not going to go through all of them because You can go through it yourself with your notes and all that. But you can just see here, some of these are probably very familiar to you because of the PowerPoints or from your notes that you're looking at. Hopefully you have this study guide printed out in front of you, that maybe you can make notes on the study guide itself. But number one, what is history? We went and looked at that in the very first PowerPoint, the what and why of history, and looked at the different kind of definitions of what history is. So make sure you know those. The historical method, that's how you approach history and look at history. And I had mentioned about that's a good way in regards to your research of a research paper, is approaching history a certain way with your sources and how your sources are good sources. Are they sources where the author is reliable, the information is reliable? Okay, number three, define the views of history, and I put them there. Those are the three views. You need to know these three views: the teleological, regarding God's will, the individual with great men and women making decisions, and that affects things that take place after that. Forces and laws deal with natural forces or societal laws that cause other change of events that occur in the future. So, for an example of that would be the flooding of a river on a flood cycle, and that natural law of the flood cycle would affect how a civilization functions. Number four, what are the five characters of God seen in creation? We went down through that whole long list. I think it was an entire PowerPoint slide on that, dealing with God's power and wisdom and all of that. Number five, know the logical reasons not to believe in evolution. Number six, who is Artie, Lucy, Neanderthal, and Cro-Magnon man? We went through those. We talked about the ages of those. So you want to make sure that you know the basic information on Artie, Lucy, Neanderthal, and Cro-Magnon man. What does Neolithic mean? What is the Hebrew word for day, and what does it refer to? Okay, so we talked about that, the Hebrew word for day, and then is it 24 hours? Is it just this kind of an idea out there of what a day is? What does Mesopotamia mean? Where is Mesopotamia today? So Mesopotamia, definitely, if you look at a modern map, it's going to be in modern-day Iraq. Fertile Crescent. So number 11 here, what is the Fertile Crescent? And what does the cradle of civilization mean? These are two kind of questions that are linked together. One question is definitely going to be on this Fertile Crescent. So make sure you know these two. Know the details of the Sumerian people. What were they called? Where they lived. Sumer is known as what location in the Bible? That's in the book of Genesis. What are the two rivers that flooded that brought the good soil to Mesopotamia? Know the characteristics of a city-state. So remember, a city-state is its own kind of centralized entity with a king, and they have their own control. And there's other city-states. They're all the same people group. They're all Sumerians, but they're just different cities that operate basically like a state. What is a ziggurat? We looked at some pictures of that. What is the Epic of Gilgamesh? Okay, so you'll need to know that, and linked to that is question 19. What are some differences between the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Great Flood account? They're pretty obvious. If you know the story of the Great Flood in the Bible, you will definitely see the differences in the Epic of Gilgamesh. So it's not a very difficult question. Number 20, the Mesopotamians developed a math system based on what formula? Number 21, what is polytheism? Again, very simple term. You guys know these things, but we have to ask the questions just to confirm that. Number 22, who was the main god of the Mesopotamians? What is cuneiform, and what does it mean? Okay, obviously cuneiform is one of the earliest writings that we have, writing samples that we have, and what does that word mean? Define what an empire is. I gave you just word for word definition on a slide of what empire is, so make sure you know what empire means. who is Sargon of Akkad, and know the details of his leadership style. Who was the king of the four quarters? Oh, there he is, Hammurabi. Who was the king of the four quarters, and how did Hammurabi rule the land? Okay, so we have Hammurabi ruling, and also we have basically Sargon's leadership. Okay, so know those guys and what they did. Know some basic details of Hammurabi's code. What were two main technological innovations of the Hittites? So the technological innovations helped them advance, definitely militarily. Okay, so with weapons and with transportation, those are two hints that you can go look in your notes and find out what the specifics are. When was Jerusalem destroyed, and who destroyed Jerusalem? Abraham was from the land of, simple, you know that from the Bible. Don't forget Abraham, he was also called Abram. Diaspora means, and you might know that from the New Testament, but diaspora means something. Who was the last king of Judah? So remember the northern tribes, the northern 10 tribes were already taken into captivity. They're done with the Assyrian captivity, but Judah remained down there in the southern portion of Israel. And when Jerusalem was destroyed, there was a king there. It was the last king of Judah, and they were taken off into captivity. What was written on the wall during Belshazzar's feast? Okay, so that's interesting because of the book of Daniel. So you might even need to go to the book of Daniel and find the chapter where the hand comes onto the wall and writes something on the wall. What are the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and who built them? What ended when the Babylonian Empire fell? Okay, so just a hint on this one: when we talk about the Babylonian Empire, remember these are different civilizations that came to power and held power for some time, and they're all still kind of in the Mesopotamian region. And so really what ended when the Babylonian Empire fell, it was the Mesopotamian age ended. What are three contributions of the Phoenicians? That's definitely in your PowerPoint slide. We go right down through all three of them. So just make sure you know all three of them. All three will be on the exam. What city was the earliest dominant Phoenician city? And then what is the difference between the Phoenician alphabet and the cuneiform, which is definitely good to know because of our roots of our alphabet. So other than that, again, if you went down this paper and you put an answer next to every single one of these things and you study it, you should have absolutely no problem on this exam. Okay, class, that's it for this study guide. All you have to do is study this. The exam questions are coming from the study guide. There's more questions on the study guide than on the exam. There's only 40 questions on the exam, and with some of these questions on the study guide, there's several sections or several parts to the question. So there's more questions actually on the study guide than on the exam. But if you study the study guide, you should have no problem with this exam. And then you'll be stepping off on the right foot here at the beginning of the semester with your first exam in World History 1. Again, just a reminder, if you, vast majority of the students, you've already given me your proctors. I'm not talking to you, but if you have not sent me your proctor form signed with an email address, it is vital that you get that to me. Please get that to me as soon as you possibly can so that we can get you going on the exam as well. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Stick with your reading, and you guys will be okay. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.